This big show is entitled The Imperialist Vision. It's our first big show in the Becoming a World Power unit in our American history class. So imperialism would be the actions used by one nation to exercise political or economic control over a smaller or weaker nation. In the 1880s, economic and military competition from Europe and a growing feeling of cultural superiority convinced many Americans that the United States should become a world power. And there are three categories of reasons for this: a desire for new markets, a feeling of superiority, and building a modern navy. And we're going to talk about each of these three things. As the United States industrialized, many Americans noticed the expansion of European power overseas. Many concluded that the U.S. needed overseas markets to keep the economy strong. And by markets here, I mean they needed a place to sell the stuff we were making. We didn't have enough people or enough resources to buy all the stuff we were making. We need to sell it to other countries. Mixed with this is this idea. There's a couple different pieces of a feeling of superiority. The first one is Anglo-Saxonism. And this is the belief that English-speaking nations had superior character, ideas, and systems of government. And since the United States is predominantly English-speaking, we would be an example of that. Along with this was this idea of manifest destiny. The belief that expansion of the United States throughout the American continent and across the Pacific was both justified and inevitable. The term manifest destiny, manifest means obvious, and destiny is something that's going to happen. It was obvious, according to these people, that we were bound to control all of the American continent and across the Pacific. Factored into this was our building of a modern navy. And Alfred Thayer Mahan, pictured here, wrote a very influential book, talked about the importance of building a very powerful navy. The United States began constructing a large navy, in large part because of the influence of this book and how it persuaded people to go along with the idea. We built that navy in part to expand trade and increase its wealth. We would use our navy to force our way into markets. And the first example of this would be in Japan, where Commodore Matthew Perry took warships into Tokyo Bay and convinces, and that word convinces is probably in air quotes, Japan to extend trading rights to U.S. It wasn't really through persuasion, it was more of we had a flotilla of warships in the bay, and Commodore Perry said, we need to sign this agreement. And slightly after this time, the United States annexed, which means to add on or take, Samoa, which is in the Pacific Islands, and Hawaii. In addition to this, we factored in this idea of Pan-Americanism, which is the idea that the United States and Latin American nations should work together with the United States playing the lead role. They were going to be like our younger brothers, and we were going to keep other countries out, and the Latin America and South America was going to be our domain. And this is your introduction to our unit on imperialism.